All right, boys, let's talk a little Arch Manning. Steve, break it down for us, because we talked about this a couple of weeks ago that we said that Arch wasn't staying, and then his grandpa had a few things to say about it. Break this down for us. What happened?
That's a great question. What did happen? I mean, essentially, I think he's just different from a lot of other college kids, college players. I mean, he obviously don't need the money, the NIL money. He's already got, I think, a Red Bull endorsement. So you could obviously see why certain players, you could argue maybe the vast majority of players would want to stay in college because they can make more money than they can make on their rookie contract. But he don't need the money, and I think that's what potentially makes him dangerous, is because that without financial burdens, he gets to specifically focus on football. And if this is a great year for him, why not declare for the draft?
Yeah, I mean, you tell me, Travis. I mean, when Arch showed up on campus, I know it was a zoo.
Oh my God.
It was wild, but we kind of said on this show, the puzzling thing to us was if Arch is the guy, and Arch is, and we'll take Paul Feinbaum out of it, calling him the greatest
Please.
quarterback recruit in the modern era is just wild to put that on that poor kid. But our thing was always, well, if he's great and he is it, why wasn't he playing last year? And all the Texas fans that were in our comments were like, well, you don't get it. He's here because he wants to play for Texas. And I don't think that's it, but you tell me.
I mean, even as a Texas fan, I'm trying to be the most unbiased and honest Texas fan that I can at all times. Arch he's at Texas because Steve Sarkisian is one of the best quarterback gurus in the game, and development is first and foremost on the Manning family's mind. And at the same point that he doesn't need the NIL money, I think they're looking at it from a multitude of standpoints. I think they're looking at it for he's getting the reps in practice and he's developing in practice, but he's not subjecting his body to 3+ years of getting banged up behind, like taking snaps in games. And then I also think there's something to be said about waiting your turn. There's something to be said about putting on a headset every day and just punching your ticket and waiting in line. And I think the entire Manning family sees the benefits of that. And I think that they're not in it as much for the money. They didn't want him to get thrust into a playing early situation and causes mental development to be hindered or to suffer because he was thrown into a situation too quick, but also just mitigating his chances to get hurt, capitalizing on his development, and putting him in the best situation because Texas roster has been great the last 2 years. Obviously, they've made it to a college football playoff, made it to the Final Four, but I think he's in the best situation, has the best roster part of the best roster that Texas has had in years. And I think that was all part of the master plan. I think the entire Manning family has this master plan, and it's been articulated to Sarkisian and the Texas coaching staff and honestly the athletic department ever since he stepped foot on campus.
Well, and he didn't have a ton of tape coming in. We had made the point, and this sounds terrible, but he playing against a lot of real small white kids in high school, playing at a smaller school. He looked amazing, but he didn't play in a bunch of 7-on-7s, didn't play in a bunch of high school all-star games. So he comes in probably, I think you're right. I think thrusting him in a starting position might have been a really bad idea because there is going to be such a wide gap. If he'd played, big 5A high school football in Texas and then goes up to, college, maybe it's not the same, but where he was at, competition is not quite there. I do think it's, it's a little uncomfortable when grandpa steps out there on a limb and is like, oh no, he's coming back next year. And you're like, hey, wait a second, hold on. If I play really well, I don't know that staying one more year in college is good for me. Might be good for like the Texas and like legacy, all that stuff, but I don't know if it's great for me. And we made the point, or I have at least a couple of times. There's a team down in New Orleans that seems to be tanking for Arch Manning, and you'd be hard pressed to find. I mean, Kellen Moore's good coach.
There might be a QB job in Cleveland. There might be a QB job in Indianapolis. Like, there's a bunch of teams that are going to need quarterbacks. next
There might be a
And
QB job in Carolina.
That's what I was
Yeah.
sitting here thinking. All this stimulates from a bigger issue. Does much tape for college quarterbacks even matter much anymore, considering how much depth that an NFL team is needing just to get through a season? Well, I guess we all saw today that Daniel Jones was announced as a starting QB for the Colts, and I really hate that for Anthony Richardson. He got 2 years, and that's
Yeah.
it. So, and I know he had some struggles, but it's just this turn and burn quarterback culture that I could rant for days, especially when it comes to the NFL. But I hate it because, again, I think the issue is we're calling, like Tom Brady said it best, we're calling too many quarterback run plays. It's causing the concussion rate to go up in QBs. You're not seeing good pocket passers anymore. Therefore, it could potentially stunt the growth of college QBs getting fully developed before they're ready. But NFL's needing QB depth, so here we are.
Yeah. And we've talked about it on the show before. Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix, and when they came into the league last year, like, they were ready. And Dan Orlovsky even brought it up today on one of their shows on one of the networks, where he was talking about how Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels had a combined like 9,000 snaps before they took their first snap in the pros. And Anthony Richardson, like, to this day, has only had about 1,400. So it would probably do Arch some good as like a quarterback if he did stay next season and, continued out. And I feel like this year is wide open too. So if Texas if this isn't the year for them and he decides to stay, they'll be right back in the mix next year. And next year they could go on and win it with a very experienced Arch Manning at the helm. But it is just one of those things. It's like, do you risk the injury? Do you get the extra reps? Do you need the extra film? Can you get a better draft spot? Will you be drafted in a better spot? Who's going to have the first overall pick in 27 versus in 26? Like, there's so much that goes into it. And like, I'm just some washed up 31-year-old sitting on my chair talking about it into a microphone, It's just
right. I mean, if it keeps going at the rate it's going now, if you're going to have a quarterback room like the Browns or the New York Giants, you should be made to have to film that through like Hard Knocks and let us see that craziness. Like Jameson Winstead doing the Thriller the other day while Jackson Dart's over here and Russell Wilson's over here. Like, who would have guessed Joe Flacco had been named the starting QB for the Browns? It's just I hate to see all these guys like Kenny Pickett that just keeps getting moved around. Now Daniel Jones is getting moved around. Who else is going to get
Sam
Anthony
Darnold's
Richardson.
done it. Kirk Cousins has done it.
Geno Smith.
It's hard for
Geno.
Exactly.
And we're all naming guys that at the college level we were like, can't miss.
Yeah, they were unbelievable at the college level.
Well, I mean,
even look at Texas.
The kid from Texas.
The kid from Texas that went to the Browns a couple years ago. McCoy was his last name, I want to say.
Yeah, Colt.
Right?
Yeah.
Colt McCoy. Yeah, it's, I thought he was going to translate well in the NFL, but, we saw what happened. But
Well, and unfortunately, there are certain teams that if they draft a kid, you just know.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Careers to their career. And Cleveland is one of those franchises.
And the Cowboys.
Don't sleep on Dak now. He's going to pop off this year, but
he better, because Joe Milton looked rough.
He looked real bad. He looks great. He looked great in practice when they were just wearing helmets. But
pisses me off so much more as a lifelong New England Patriots fan, because we could have had the first pick until we put him in that last game and he balled out, and then see where he's at now. Now he's playing like trash, and then that even makes me more mad. We could have got the first pick. Damn you, Titans.